to tip that motorbike. You're right. That's fine. You tell him he tips that bike, I tip him. Cheeky bugger, he can't keep his horns off hen, you know. Oh, I'm no one of the turns, hen. Oh, God, no. I only clean out after him, you know. Don't worry about me, I'm all right. I'm no stranger to danger, you know. See where you're sitting there? See where you're sitting out there now? Oh, up there. I've done all that. Scrupulous, so it is. Scrupulous. Don't worry, you're all settled down. You'll no go out when you never come in with. Sharon, a couple of pies in my shopper hen, going to put them in the baby bellin for me. And just melt my teenage sugar. The hermesetas are in the pocket. No, I'm trying to watch, you know. God, there's no a pun of me hanging the right road. Do you know I have one of my days a day? One of the days you don't know what end he is up, you know? She knows what I'm talking about. Do you know what I think? I think my bionic rhythms is all to hell. Of course, he's getting on my nerves, you know. That ornament I keep in the house. I'm not kidding, it would take a stick of dynamite to separate that man's ears with that chair in front of the telly. He's Oprah Winfrey daft, so he is. God, he loves all that carry on the folk come on and they tell all their business and expose themselves, you know. You know, he was sitting there and I left this morning, he'll still be sitting there when I get home tonight. He'll eventually mummify himself. The rigor mortis is creeping up his legs for the head down. A doctor, he brought a woman into him, you know. One of the clinical pathologists. Oh, she says, he's suffering from severe distress vocational maladjustment. She says, to put it in other words, she says, in simple terms, he's no adjusted for work to redundancy. Oh, I says, I'll put it in simpler terms than that. I says, I think he's adjusted very well today and bugger off. Oof. Should have seen her face, you know, she wasn't pleased. But I never missed her and hit the wall, you know. Ended up the doctor just gave him a line. He put on it industrial nausea. Seek a work. I mean, it's not as though I haven't tried for that man. I have bent over backwards for him. You know? I says to him, I says, how do you fancy a wee fortnight and we're time sharing the seashells? Didn't want that, you know. I says, well, do you fancy a week and we're condom in Lanzarote? That didn't suit him, you know. I says, well, I says, do you want a wee week in Rossi? Well, do you know there was a wee kind of flicker interest. No, I could perceive a wee excitement rising, you know. Because that's where we spent our honeymoon. Oh, and I thought he's not going to start all that business of me. I couldn't go that. You get kind of past that stage. So anyway, I books up for a week in the Bayview, you know. So when we got there, I plunked him down in his lilo on the beach. You know the wee bit of beach next to the pier where the boats come in? You know what I mean. I says, I'll away the messages. Got a turn and that was him sound asleep. So I comes back about an hour later. No sign of him. No sign of the lilo. The tide's in. I thought, well, easy come, easy go. So I goes back to the Bayview for my high tea, you know. And I'm getting wired in at my ham and egg pie, and this announcer comes on the television. You know the one I mean, what's her name again? Narinji Sarinji. Always think she looks enough a nice lassie, you know. Anyway, she's reading the news, you see, and she says, unknown man found floating on a lilo in the estuary of the Clyde. Then they take a Philadelphia lawyer to work out who that was, you know. So after I had my cup of tea and a fairy cake, I phones up the Coast Guard. I says, I'm inquiring about the Sleeping Beauty. Oh, he says, he's no sleeping now. He says, he's running about mental, completely disorientated. Oh, I says, that's it. I says, well, I'll tell you one word that'll quiet him down. He says, what's that? I says, work. Anyway, that done the trick, you know. So, I took him home and been sitting there ever since. A ghost of his former shadow. With his stock of rock, his kiss me quick hat, and his face all purple, trying to reinflate that bloody lilo. Is that the turns coming on now, Hen?
That's right.
Are you all right? The turns are coming on now. Did you mean to get that hairstyle, Hen?
Yes.
Between you and me, you know, it wasn't for a wee reason.
No.
No. Did you pay good money to a hairdresser for that? As much as that? God, I could put you in touch with a good criminal lawyer. Sharon, are they pies heated through? Henna, you want a pie? You want a pie? A pie? Good. That's thin. A couple of pies when they dare any hair, mate. Sharon, make sure that kettle's boiled. Oh, a canny stick cold tea. Gaslit days of my childhood. God, I sound like Fanny by gaslight. I'm not as old as that. No, but when I was a wee girl, my world was a few streets in Dennistoun in Glasgow. The centre of my world was upper close in Whitehill Street, Dennistoun. And to the south of my world, there was the barras, the meat market, the church, and the Sunday school. We were members of the Church of England. My granny came from Lancashire, you know? And, the minister was Mr. Kessock. Fine-looking big man. He wore a frock, but it suited him, you know. Now, to the north of my world was Alexandra Park and Alexandra Parade Primary School. God, I can remember trailing up to that school on a wet Monday morning. School days are the happiest days of your life? You could have fooled me. And you arrived there and your feet were soaking wet. That was the janitor ringing the big school bell. Mind you, the look of his big red nose, I think he was a man that was more often on the bell. Primary 4. Good morning, Miss Pekin. Good morning, Miss Pekin. Good morning, Miss Pekin. That was Edward, he was a big boy. Good morning, Miss Pekin. Now, Miss Pekin, she was a desperate Dan look-alike. This woman had a full-blown moustache, a designer stubble, and she always wore a kilt. I think she tossed the caber at the weekend. But she was big. She was big in the SNP. Rumour had it she was the one that lifted the Stone of Destiny from Westminster Abbey. Herself! And you know how in those days, women were always very heavily corseted? Well, she was like that. You know, she was all pulled in there and pulled in there, and she kind of went out there. And she always spoke as though she was in pain. I think maybe the corset bones were sticking into the woman. You know? She wasn't a pleasant woman. You know, she wasn't pleasant. I think she'd had a wee disappointment in the First World War. It happened in those days, you know. And she always had a kind of sour look. The snow was aye blowing in her face. And I used to think that the corsets she wore were too long for her. Because her legs were kind of joined together at the knees. Right now, boys and girls, stand up, hands together, heads bowed. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. There's Miss Pekin, she's fingering the belt, she's fingering the belt. As sure as God was in heaven and Hitler was in Germany, I was going to do something during the day that would get me that belt. Jesus bids us shine with a pure, clear light. There's Jessie McCarthy looking at me. Jessie McCarthy, I hated her. She had 2 front teeth missing and 2 fangs, and she had glasses with a sticky plaster over one eye. And she was built like an ox. We used to call her Pansy Potter, the strong man's daughter. She frightened the living daylights out of me. Like a little candle burning in the night. There's Jessie McCarthy, she's giving me the sign, she's giving me the sign. That meant she was going to get me at 4 o'clock and batter me. I wonder whatever happened to Jessie McCarthy. She's probably taken early retirement from the SAS by now. See, I'm not telling you, that's not a real name. I don't want to mention her real name, because she might still be around, you know, with that aggression about her. In this world of darkness, we can make it shine. See, I always did a runner at 4 o'clock, but Jessie McCarthy always managed to catch up with me and kick me between Ingleby Drive and Armadale Street. You in your small corner and I in mine. That was 2 rotten things I had to look forward to. And it wasn't even 9:30. Amen right now, boys and girls. And then Miss Pekin, she would sit up in the front desk with her feet up in the seats. You know how teachers always did that when they wanted to be chatty? And then you were treated to a sight of the Directoire knickers. Remember them? They came down to there, elastics round there. They came in shades of grey, pink and taupe. Interlock for the winter, try sell silk for the summer. It was only teachers that wore them, you know. Now, Miss Picken, she would start off a Monday morning by clearing out her sinuses. Now, she kept her hanky, this is true, up the directoire. Up the leg of your drawers. This woman was in the forefront of germ warfare. And then she had a wee look at it, you know. No, but you remember these things when you're a child, you know. Right now, boys and girls, now we're coming up to one of the highlights of the school year, the school trip. Now, if the weather is clement, we'll be taking the tram car to Rook and Glen Park. If the weather is inclement, we'll be camping out in the BB hut in Glasgow Road, Fossil Park. Either way, I think it'll be quite a jolly day. Now, what have you to remember to bring with you this year? Please, miss, our gas masks. That's correct, Jean. What else have you to remember to bring with you? Please, miss, we have to bring more pieces. Wish you would learn to speak properly, Edward. It's not your pieces, it's your sandwiches. Sandwiches. No, you can't remember, eh? Of course, dunderheads have no memory. Where did I put that wee hanky? Please, miss, it's what, William? Up your coat. Come out here, boy, come on, out. Go and face that wall. I'll deal with you after the Bible reading. Well, I'll have to remind you, won't I? You're tinny. Every year I remind you, and every year someone turns up without a tinny. Are you going to drink your hot soup out of it? You know you have your tinny. And let me make one thing perfectly clear. On this trip, there will be no behaviour. How could you have no behaviour? And this woman was learning us to talk right. So what are you not going to bring with you this year, Edward? Please, Miss, what are you not going to bring with you, Edward? Please, miss, ma bonanara. That's correct. Your bow and arrow. Remember what you did with that bow and arrow last year, Edward? It's all down in the headmaster's big black book. And don't forget, Edward, baby Jesus saw you too. You just keep your face to the wall there, William McKechnie. Hey, stop doing that. You'll go to the bad fire for that. Right now, boys and girls, the text for today is taken from Mark 10, verse 13. Suffer the little children to come unto me. Childhood is a perilous journey. A child tries to create a cosmos out of chaos. And there was plenty of chaos in our house, you know. I mean, they all know the secrets, the big people, but you don't, because you're just wee. Why do your teeth fall out when you're 6? Why is my granny lying in a wooden box in the big room? Why is my mummy always saying to my daddy, Aye, you'll go to the jail. How did his motorbike go on fire? What's insurance money? How does my mummy know that the lady up the stairs has got two faces? And if she's got two faces, why is she wearing that one? See, it's all secrets. And do you remember the Invisible Man? Ah, you remember him. Your mother took you to the park. Don't go near that water! Here comes the man! Don't chase those ducks! Here comes the man! She could see the man. Auntie Lizzie could see the man. I couldn't see the man. And do you remember the secret language? See, my father, he'd say, well, I take the w-a-n to the b-a-r-r-as. No, she'll come back with a f-o-e-e. Well, will I take her to the a-r-t-g-a-o-r-is? Aye, take her there, that'll be nice. See nice pictures, aye. That'll learn her something. So my father took me to see the nice pictures in the cinema up the road. I mean, my father, he was my best friend, but he was a hooligan. So we'd be sitting there in the pictures, and we're talking the 40s. It'd be a musical, maybe with Alice Faye. Hello, Frisco. Hello. Know that. Well, loved the dancing and singing pictures. And then the Pathé Pictorial News. Ba ba da 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 da.
If there are any children in the cinema this evening, would you please take them to the foyer, as we are going to show the atrocities.
The atrocities? My father said, just you curry down there, hen, the man will no see you. And I'm sitting there watching Heil Hitler and Mussolini being strung up by his heels. And Tojo, the Japanese war criminal. And I wasn't even frightened. And then the Three Stooges came on and I was terrified. You see, nowadays, children are exposed to monster videos and horror movies. We didn't have anything like that. We just had secondary school teachers. And you are talking Terminator 1, 2, and 3. Not to mention the Alien. That was Miss Macready, the home economics teacher.
Right, get your garments on the table, girls. Today we're going to look at tailor tacking.
This woman had a mouth like E.T. Miss Macready, go home. And I mean, I was looking forward, to the secondary school because you got subjects like mathematics, big girl subjects like algebra and geometry. So I was sitting there the first day in the maths class, and there's a wee shuffling outside in the corridor, and the door swings open, and who walks in to teach us mathematics? Tojo, the Japanese war criminal. They hadn't got him. He had outwitted the Allies. Tojo was holding down a good job in Whitehill Senior Secondary. That was my square and a hypotenuse right out the window. Another subject I was looking forward to was history. Who does what to whom, where and when, all that. History was killed stone dead because the history teacher was John Christie, the mass murderer. Yeah. Oh, I mean, this man, he had wee piercing eyes and wee glasses, and he walked about with sandals. No socks, just the sandals, even in the winter. And he'd say, "Right now, boys and girls, It took 6 strokes of the headsman's axe to sever Anne Boleyn's head from her lovely young body. Oh, there was a wee want with this man, you know. I mean, he gave up teaching. It had nothing to do with me, mind you. No, he found religion. God called him. I don't know what he called him. But he had a following, because a lot of the wee old ladies used to follow him around and hang on his every word, you know. He used to go around with a long robe and his sandals. The last we heard of him, he was just walking around the streets of Glasgow, making a cult of himself. You know? But on a Sunday, my mother used to dress me up in my good coat, my wee hat, and my good handbag. And she took me down to the church. And then, the Sunday afternoon, when I should have been at the Sunday school, my father took me to the barras. Oh, I love the barras. I still love the barras. Here a pair of pears. Get your lovely apples here. There's 1, missus. There's 2. There's 3. All for a tenner. Cherries for a Harry. Flowers. She doesn't get that. And then we'd take the stuff home, you see, and my mother would say, "Where did you get the apples? They're all chipped. They're not even washed. I hope you didn't give one of them to that Wayne. Ah, you got them in the barras, didn't you? Aye, I know you did. In the midden with them." My mother wasn't a hoarder. She had a season ticket to the midden. But you know, in those days, Art Deco was the style. I mean, it was the fashion. Nowadays, you'd pay a fortune for it because it's antique. But in those days, everybody's windows were the same. And in the window, they might have had the little boy with the basket, standing like that, with his hands up, dangling the 3 cherries. She still got one. Another popular figurine was the lady with the nice dress, the wavy perm pulling the 2 greyhounds. Now, my father, of course, being an electrician to trade, any ornament he got a hold of, he wired it up and made a lamp out of it. You know? So he ended up with a wee boy with a basket standing up, with his hand up like that, dangling 3 torch bulbs. He hadn't made up his mind what he was going to do with the lady with the nice dress, the wavy perm pulling the 2 greyhounds, but he was working in that. And of course, in those days, in the 40s, I mean, many people, their homes didn't have any electricity. And my father had a job in the Glasgow Corporation wiring up houses. Now, he would start off by putting the wiring in place, and then he'd put in the light bulbs. And he'd say to the wee woman, "Turn on your old gas lamp." And the wee woman, she would turn on the gas mantle, and there would be that kind of yellowy, sulphury kind of glow. And then he'd say to the wee woman, "Sit there, hen. Wait till you see this." And with a great flourish, my father would switch on the electricity. The wee woman would say, "Oh my God, would you look at my house?" It's filthy. And of course, my father, being a tradesman, you know, he was always on the lookout for Lucky's. So he comes home to my mother this night, you see. He says, wait, see us. My father always did that. He never did that. He always did that. He says, wait, see us, hen, wait, see us. He says, I was doing up this big house in the West End. I was up in the attic, and I found this wee object darty. Wait a minute, I've got it up my juke. My mother says, oh my God, you'll go to the jail. He says, wait, see us. Now look at that. That's a genuine Wedgwood vase. Look at the sign at the bottom, hen. C.V. Wedgwood. What do you think of that? My mother says, I'm no struck. God, I'm awful fed up with these old-fashioned things. In the midden with it. But my father did not put it in the midden. My father took this genuine Wedgwood vase. He bored a hole in the bottom of it. He wired it up and put a shade on it. He says, what do you think of that new hen? My mother says, aye, that's a bit better now. It's a bit more modern looking. If it was modern, my mother and her 5 sisters wanted it. And I think it was my father who was responsible for another act of vandalism. It was called the alcove. You know. Now, you know how in the old tenements, near the oriel window, you always had that shallow shelved cupboard with the lovely panelled door. Well, my father had already flushed his panel. So then he halved it, retaining the bottom half, pulled out the shelves, and then he got a piece of hardboard and he beveled it round the back. And then he got this fabric with mirrors stuck to it. Pink mirrors. And he stuck that onto the hardboard. That wasn't enough. Then he put a pelmet above the door with a strip light behind it to illuminate this mosaic of pink mirror. He said to my mother, sit down, hen, sit down. This was going to be the unveiling. And my father switched on the alcove. My mother says, oh, that's beautiful, so it is. Oh, look, it's all twinkling at me. Oh, there's me. Oh, there's me again. Oh, it's that modern looking. My mother loved it. The aunties all wanted one. The neighbours all wanted one. My father had built a shrine. But a shrine to what? Now, it was all right for the lady up the stairs, you see. She was a Catholic. She came down, she says, oh, I love my alcove, so I do. It's just the right place for my child of Prague. You've got to be a Catholic to know that one, Now, we weren't Catholics, so what were we going to put in the shrine? My father had it. The lady with the nice dress, the wavy pear, and pulling the 2 greyhounds. With a light bulb up her arse. Vintage dime I could afford, like a child in wild anticipation, long to hear that all aboard. 7, that's the time we leave.
could be so yearning. Why did I decide to roam? Going to take a sentimental journey, sentimental journey home, sentimental journey home, sentimental journey home.
Amidst this brave new world of black and white television sets, 12-inch, wall-to-wall carpeting, and fiberglass curtains. An abomination in the sight of God were fiberglass curtains. The buzzword was contemporary. Now, this is my auntie visiting my mother for afternoon tea and my mother's good baking. And they were talking about their younger sister. Oh no, I'm not wanting another meringue, no. No, I will not be tempted. No. No, I'm all hoved up. Just gives a cup of tea. Well, that's her get herself all up to date now, eh? Aye, threw our old stuff. Went all contemporary. She got a line out of Bremner's. Beautiful three-piece suite, cherry red, uncut bouquet. That's them writing the script again. You could write this yourself. Aye, she'll be happy now she's got all her orders. Happy, no off, she's deleterious. And another innovation around that time was the home perm. It was called the Tony. And it was advertised, which twin? There's some of them out there that are old as me. Now, a Thursday night, that was the aunties' night. They would start off, they'd have their high tea, and then they would wash their hair in the kitchen sink. The five of them, you see. That was with a green fairy soap, of course. Oh, shampoo hadn't been invented. We thought a conditioner was a Bob Martin's. And sitting there waiting for their perms. Who was the permer? Me. And God help me if I got it wrong. Right, I'll pass you up the wee papers. Now make sure you get them to the very ends. I'm not wanting my tips, Frizzy. Pulling my hair again. She knows my scalp's sensitive. I hope this turns out like a bubble cut. The woman up the road for me, she's got the very latest style. The Italian boy. Is it nice? Oh, it's lovely. Doesn't he go with her big Glasgow ball face, but... My God, the smell of that perm lotion. It's like cat spit. Oh! Get the towel, quick. It's went into a wee chap in my head. Oh, yeah, oh. Oh. God, I've been sitting here for half an hour, dying for a cup of tea. Is it no time for the neutralizer?
I think it's time you did a wee test, Carol and mine.
They buried Chrissy Clark last week. Is she dead? Well, I hope so. They buried her last week. There's no sign of a Carol there. That test Carol's no taken. I'd leave that on another half an hour. Oh, well, it was a happy release, a happy release. Of course, you know, she took a good bucket. To take a refreshment was respectable. To take a good drink, not respectable. If you took a bucket, you were beyond the pale. Was she not married, don't you? No, you're thinking of Jessie Clark. No, she's still running the Minoj. No, Chrissy Clark. She cremated 3 men. Did she? Aye. Do you not remember who Agnes saying, God, some women can't get a man in their sheets, burning them? Here, get a towel. It's all running down the back of my neck. Dab it. Of course, I'm no one to stay in front of me. But that last one, you know, that was a marriage of convenience. What's a marriage of convenience? Big people's business. Just you go on with the permanent, eh? Little donkeys have long ears, eh? Now, the big room was out of bounds. And in the kitchen was my father and my Uncle Harry. They were doing their football pools, you see. Uncle Harry always brought his big dog Rover with him, you know. And my father didn't mind dogs, but when I say dog, I mean this was a kind of whippet-cum Shetland pony, you know. And when it came to dogs, my father was a wee bit like Chick Murray, you know. I don't mind dogs. If they're high enough up, I'll clip them. But this dog, Rover, had an undying love affair with my father's trouser leg. Get on ya! If you get to ya, go on ya, get ya! There you go, there you ducky. Harry, what do you think? What do you think of Stenhouse Muir's Chancy? Then get him! Come! Now, you see, my father had no knowledge, you know, or interest in football, but my father was the kind of man he liked to join in. You know, he was a big, tall man, 6 foot, but he took a size 6 in a shoe, but he wore an 8 for appearance, you know. But Uncle Harry, he was a wee man, you see, but he was the expert on the football.
That was a bloody fiasco up at Firhill Saturday. You know what I mean? Coming up to half-time, penalty. So Big Tam takes it, you know. And of course, you know how Big Tammy kicks with the left foot? Oh, is he a Catholic? No, he kicks a ball with the left foot. For God's sake. So he kicks the ball, wide of the mark, right out the bloody park. Game comes to a standstill, you know. We're all hanging about there, and it's hell of a woolly bald. So, of course, wee Eck, oh, was he playing? Wee Eck stunning aside it, for God's sake. Anyway, you know how wee Eck, he's unconscious, you know. He's unconscious, wee Eck, oh, good. So he shouts out, you see, he shouts out, oh! He says, never mind the ball, go on with the bloody game. You know, get to your point. Back to chapter 3 of the Chrissy Clark saga. Of course, you know what I mean? That was, you know the story, don't you? Constant night shift, big pay poke, you know? Oh, listen, I'll tell you, it was him that done all the work in that house. Oh, yes. You could have ate your meat off that flare. Her, she never done a horn's turn, that woman. Do you not remember her last house when she was married on to the second one? Was it a mess? A mess? It was like the boat me a Wayne's pram. But when that man, when he had a duster in one horn and his Eubank in the other, he was as happy as a pig in shite. Oh, there's your big boy. Oh, he's lovely, isn't he? He's all dressed up in his kilt. A well-made big boy, but oh, yes. Where are you going tonight, son? My mother. This is the night that they're going to their operatics. There's going to be a big concert in the St Andrews Halls in 6 weeks' time, and of course my son's going to be singing a solo, aren't you, son? Why don't you do the McGregor's gathering for the aunties? It'll be a wee bit practice for you. Wipe your hands there, Dorothy. You'll be playing the piano for him. Are you all right, son? Stand up, straighten your humph, that's right. Don't forget the wee rumble at the beginning. I know that, I know that. Of a moon's on the lake, and the mist on the breeze.
Don't force it, son. Just let it flow.
And the clan has a name, that is nameless. By day.
Oh, he's got a lovely tone in his voice, hasn't he? A lovely timbre. Oh, he can sing from a way up high to a way low down. Did you get his tonsils and adenoids taken out? I made sure they got everything taken away at the one time.
Oh, a signal of fight, which from monarchs so we draw, can be heard but by night. In our vengeful halloo.
Christ, Harry, I've got that bugger singing now. Honest to God, whoever tell that boy he's a singer, he's got a sin to answer for.
Halloo, halloo. in the bloody duck again. Go on, you. Shut that door, I can hear you. Hello, Gregala. Shut the other door, I can still hear you. I'll tell you something, Harry. See, if I strangulated Hernia, I could sing, it would sound like that. Oh, well, landless, 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 Gregala. Christ, Harry, I can't take much more of this. Landless, landless. Son, if you don't shut up, you'll be hameless. Landless. See what you've done to that boy now. You've sent him out there in his estate. Eyes off a bad with his nerves, isn't he? No, he's no bad with his nerves. No, he's no. He's just a sensitive artiste. Well, it's no my fault he took the cream puff. I mean, that boy forgets himself. He forgets that I learned him all. He knows I learned him his trade, you know, Harry. He forgets. I was wiring up hoosies when his ass was the size of a shirt button. My father, Uncle Harry, the big Doug Rover, were put out. And no loading back in. So, of course, by that time, the perming was finished. And the wee set had been done, you see. And out came the mirrors. Oh, it's beautiful, so is. Oh, I'm like Harry out a magnificent obsession. Is mine nice? Yours is no bad, but mine's is like a halo. They were like startled earwigs. They looked as though they'd sat in one of my father's live wires. Night later, 2 washings that was like ripped to knitting. And then a couple of years on, this was the next innovation. And her 5 sisters, the blue bottles. And around that time, an iron Bevan stood up in the House of Commons. I don't know if he had a blue rinse, mind you. And he said, every adult in this country is entitled to free dentures and spectacles on the National Health Service, boyo, or something like that. This suited my mother and her 5 sisters down to the ground. Do you think they suit me? Do you not think they kind of fill out my face a bit? Oh, no, thank you, no. No, I'm not wanting a sandwich. With my new teeth. Don't be daft. I can't eat with them.
sentimental